GM, hey Sunshine, how's it going?
Hi, how are you, Kent?
Doing great. Glad we're back for our third part in the Rocket Pool, how to stake ETH AMA. Do you think it makes sense for us to first step back and to summarize kind of like what we're doing here and what we've covered in the first two sessions?
Yeah, so we have been discussing RocketPool. An overview, it's a Ethereum staking protocol, making it designed to make proof of stake more accessible, making it easier, permissionless because of the smart contracts that it has. What sets RocketPool apart from others is that anyone can be a node operator and they're not chosen selectively. If you don't have the skill to become a node validator, you can become a liquid staker and use someone else's nodes to participate. And then the protocol mining pool consists of the node operator and the staker. And then the stakers combine to make a total of 32 Ethereum. And then you participate in the tokenized staking with RETH, or you can become a node validator, which node validators have to stake 16 Ethereum and then 10% of RPL. And then the RPL token is used for the node operators only. And this is used for slashing insurance, and then also governance.
Exactly. RPL provides the collateral to create the liquid staking token that enables more participants to earn passive income, the ETH rewards. So we want more users to be onboarded to liquid staking Ethereum versus just holding ETH. And your summary was so beautiful that makes me want to cry inside in excitement that the learning works, because you helped me realize that it's definitely not simple and easy. My mom has told me that, but I dive into this, spend so much time in the space that it almost seems to be easy, but that's definitely not the case. I want to clarify something for you in that you were right that it is 10% collateral for the 16, but they now have the 8 ETH mini pools. And so those are the nodes, but the nodes in Rocket Pool are actually just smart contract mini pools. And it is 10% collateral of the liquid staking tokens that have been created on the open market. So that means they're of the 8 ETH to get to 24. Sorry, you have 8 ETH yourself you would lock up as a node operator with Rocket Pool. Then you go get 24 Ethereum from the community. So 24 plus 8 equals 32. And that's what's required to be a full node operator. And so there's just a nuance in, how much RPL is required for node operators if they want an 8 ETH mini pool or the 16. Everything else you said is spot on. And my hope was that, we could dive into this staking Ethereum notes guide that was attempting to break down the pure profit of, if you had 32 Ethereum, how much can you earn? And the truth is, Rocket Pool not only makes it easier, but gives you more rewards. So this is an outdated model. This is not financial advice, but this is, analysis that I created based on some really smart people in the community who created Ethereum tokenomic models and Rocket Pool individual models, and I put them together. So I was hoping to walk through with you, the tokenomics and staking of Ethereum, and then the tokenomics of Rocket Pool, to end with, just that pure rate of ROI, if that could be helpful. But I know this is so far down in the weeds, and coming back to what we're trying to do here is just help people learn how to stake Ethereum so you can earn passive income, and to choose Rocket Pool, which pays a bit less than some of the other larger competitors, but has some really positive trade-offs in the decentralization of it and the benefits that are provided by the decentralization, which means that oftentimes the market and people around the world price in Rocket Pool's liquid staking token better than they do the leading competitor of Lido. And it takes a long time for people to understand that. And I only understand that from my real world experience, staking Ethereum and testing out the different projects. Is it okay for us to jump into this model now?
Sure.
Cool. So have you seen this model before?
Last week when you showed it to me.
Awesome. So to start off, there's this guy named John Chabot. I may have butchered his name, but he created this awesome Ethereum model. And Ethereum used to be proof of work, as we've talked about before, and moved to proof of stake. So he just does some modeling based on that 32 Ethereum required. How could you come up with like a valuation model? And like his notes here are quite interesting. And I want to kind of highlight what he's saying. So this is not intended, this Ethereum model, to be like a valuation. He just put out like the cash flows. And most businesses that are profitable they just run on cash flows. So he's not using a model like a discounted cash flow that is like an investment strategy. His model here is just around like how much Ethereum, could be converted into dollars in real time, does the ecosystem generate based on the amount of people staking and participating.
Okay.
So it gets complex pretty quick. But like we talked about, like Ethereum started off with just a few validators, but here the model starts off with 50,000. And like the last we checked, we're over 550,000. Yeah. And so it keeps going up. And so why is that? And that's just because there's more trust. And most people didn't want to stake their ETH until they could unlock it. And the unlocking was the moving to proof of stake.
Oh,
So
800.
Yeah, and it says old. So
I have a question. Is
yeah.
there, I don't know if you could do that because of VPNs, but can you tell where all the validators are located geographically?
You can determine where each validator is located geographically. RocketPool has a really nice geographic map that I would like to find, and someone in the community may be able to find it. But RocketPool is somewhat anonymized, but each smart contract can sometimes be connected to an IP address, and IP addresses are geographically based. On the Ethereum staking side, it can get more nuanced regarding where the liquid staking providers geographically based. But the high level is that RocketPool is the most decentralized on the most continents in the most places, and for that you're paying a price. Versus, Coinbase is a US company that's now working to have its own blockchain on top of Optimism, which is L2. So Coinbase is going to offer its customers, DeFi products so that you can self-custody but still use their staking. And they charge, a fee for their CBE, but currently they're charging less than the RocketPool, charge less, hence the higher rate of return. So that was correct. Frax has an even higher rate of return because they're giving you some other tokens. So this yield is not just an ETH denominated returns. It's quite complex in the weeds. But most people choose Lido, and that's staked ETH, because we can see 32% of the market share. And that's just because they make it easy. They charge the lowest rate, and they have about 30 validators. So those validators are in different places around the world, and you can dive into the weeds. But every validator could be tied to an IP address, but isn't 100% validated. It's the short answer.
Okay. But that can also fluctuate the liquidity as well because of the small amount.
Correct.
If say it's 5 validators went out, that would fluctuate really quickly because there's only 30 validators versus RocketPool, which has how many? Like
that doesn't directly relate. There's over 2,000 with RocketPool, but just if a validator were to go out for Lido, that wouldn't mean that the staking rewards would go down. There are ways that you can have backups. There are ways that they can ensure that they can maintain the security of their network with less than the current number of validators that they have. But the whole point of RocketPool is that you can do this at home yourself. And so, you can run the nodes at home yourself. You can't do that with Lido. and small investors can get the RETH token and then always earn more in Ethereum terms. So, like why RETH versus ETH? Because it goes up only. Now it's going up a little bit less than Lido, but the trade-off there is you have less counterparty risk, meaning, like Lido could have a couple validators go down, or they could say, hey, we're no longer supporting these type of customers in this country because we're now regulated in the UK and we can't, support people in this location. That's not true today, but when you have centralization, it is possible to kick people out. Or RocketPool, you can't kick people out. Node operators are the ones who create the RETH in a decentralized way. And like you saw, there's just more and more demand to stake ETH. So
okay.
that was kind of a bit chunky. Let's see if we can find a good dashboard. Where should we go into the analytics, or what is feeling?
Yeah, the analytics would be good.
Well, we can just start off at Ethereum and get to RocketPool, because RocketPool is a top 5 competitor, but it's not the first one. So the first one is Lido for liquid staking, hence the little drop here. And 31% is kind of scary when you get into the weeds. But coming back to it, the model showed previously in this model, there were 500,000 validators here with Ethereum staked. And that was 17.6 million total Ethereum. And now we're way above that number at 700,000. And this is a recent stat since moving to proof of stake. It's not the total amount of ETH staked. We can find that going down. This is, just a summary chart of all the different providers of staking services for Ethereum. And RocketPool is on here, as you can see, but it's number 7. And like, where does it fit in? Is that it's a liquid staking category. And so going back into the weeds, I will avoid talking about some really nuanced stuff on how the blockchain works, but the tokenomics, it's a supply and demand like we were talking about before. So there's an estimated total number of Ethereum right now. And why is it estimated? It's because there's always more Ethereum created every 12 minutes. And it is decreasing when there's higher demand. But in general, it's going to increase, estimate around 2% a year, kind of like the US dollar. And so you could update this model and we can get to how much is staked.
What is unstaked and contracts? What does all of that entail?
Yeah, great question. So unstaked ETH would be just Ethereum that is used in DeFi in contracts. So we can come over here to DeFi Llama and see all this Ethereum that's not staked, but it's used in borrowing and lending, or it's used in some other part of like, crypto. So it could be an NFT project. So liquid staking is one of the largest categories, but we can get then into the Ethereum ecosystem or even the token to see how much of it is locked up, but not staked. The idea is more and more of it is going to be staked over time, because why would you hold it in a checking account versus you can hold it in a savings account? But because it's such new technology, most people, the savings account was just invented in the last year, and that's staking. And so more people will move. Yeah.
Sorry. So it's locked up, but not staked or locked up in the Ethereum network.
Exactly right. So it, and a contract means like it could be on, Aave. So let's go over to, and Aave is a borrowing and lending. It's just like a JP Morgan or a Wells Fargo, but of crypto. And this Llama is one of my favorite sites. There's a bunch of data on here, but if we click on TVL, it's a total value locked. So like, what are all the tokens that are stuck on their platform? And stuck means there's investors who are, lending it or optimizing their return. And shucks, this is a summary. It'll take us a minute to get into the real weeds of how much Ethereum itself is on here, but more people are moving towards liquid staking tokens in DeFi. So the expectation is that over time, the unstaked amount in contracts or in accounts are like wallets, will decrease, and more will go towards holding it in their savings account, aka their staking account, which is just a different token. And it's confusing that you can hold, this RETH token. I'm jumping around web pages, my apologies, but like we said, just holding RETH instead of holding ETH is what you want to do. Or
Yeah,
another,
I think you nailed it. You said it's very confusing to say, the difference of the RE is that you're holding that kind of in your savings account and you're earning that interest.
That's exactly right. And I feel frustrated that I wasn't able to describe to you or others that, how the tokenomics works in a simplified way. And it is quite complicated, but at like the airplane level, there are people who lock up more Ethereum, and for all that they lock up Ethereum and the RPL token. And then that then creates this liquid one, which is a fully collateralized. So it's not meaning this is like some pseudo black finance with a lot of leverage. There are more assets locked up than there are liquid staking tokens. So if the whole system broke down, all the people who hold RETH would be paid back in full. And it's like a bank that has all their collateral in one account. And just in case, there's a disaster and the power goes out, the customers can come back and go into that account and get it. And the people who are going to lose are going to be these node operators, who are people like me, who are earning a higher rate of return by locking up ETH and RPL as a trade-off.
A good point.
But
So
yes.
I know we only have 10 minutes. Can you talk briefly about the RPL token? So that's used for more like slashing insurance and governance. And so you get to participate in the DAO, which is really important. But the RPL token can also be bought, right? You could just go out and buy that RPL token.
Yes, you need to buy it.
What prohibits somebody to buying that RPL token and being able to participate in the DAO?
Good question. To participate in the DAO, you need to run a node. And to run the node, you need to have enough RPL and ETH. Most people don't have that. Like it's about $40,000. You could get into the weeds. It's less than that because you need 8 ETH, and then you need 114 RPL, and then enough for gas. And those prices change. But most people don't need the RPL token because they're not going to run a node, and they don't have $30,000 to $40,000. But the people who do have that much money will go to an exchange like Kraken or Coinbase, and we can go to, I kind of like CoinGecko to determine where the best place is to buy certain tokens. So once you've gone down the path that you want to be a node operator and to earn more staking rewards, you'll then figure out where to buy your RocketPool tokens. I currently like buying it on Kraken. But there are decentralized ways to buy it, and there are centralized ways to buy it. But if you go to CoinGecko and then the RocketPool tab, and then you click on markets, this is a really cool free data site that shows you like how much liquidity is there available for this token across all markets. And the best news is that the most liquidity is in DeFi. It can't be stopped. DeFi has 1.46 million over the last 24 hours, and Binance has 1.2 million. You can just click here, and it would take you directly to the RPL ETH token on Uniswap for you to be able to buy it. And so that's the win. But like we talked about, you'd actually like to buy it on an L2 so you don't pay high transaction fees, because that's the whole trick. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts. And we want to make sure you have enough to buy, and then you buy in an L2 so that you're not losing like 30% to fees and then being like, I have to wait 5 years to make a return on this. That's pretty garbage. But Yeah. What do you think about that?
So I do have
Yeah.
one last question. Or what happens when you cannot unstake your RETH because there's low liquidity? Can you think of a scenario, a doomsday scenario when that would happen? Because you have to be able to have the liquidity on the market to be able to do the swap or the exchange. So could you think of a scenario that
Yeah, I
there is
could.
not enough liquidity
It's
to cash out?
so there are always risks, and yes, there are scenarios, the doomsday, but the market cap, meaning the total liquidity of this, is close to $1 billion. So with 972,969,000, it did cross 1 billion recently, but it's not there yet. I mean, today, that there's enough liquidity in the global markets for you to cash out. The node operators take about 30 to 40 days to unwind, and there's enough collateral every node operator has to put up that they could not shortchange an RETH token holder. So there's a chance that the market, you would need liquidity very quickly, and you would have to sell at a discount on Uniswap. But if you were patient and waited a couple more days, you could then get your full value back because there is enough collateral in the system. It's just when you compare what's available on an exchange, like the total liquidity, that's the whole difference maker. So when we compare
Yeah,
the
that's what I was
RPL token to this, like the RPL token has about, less than half of the liquidity than RETH. So RETH is very liquid on Uniswap. Looks like it's almost $3 million was traded in the last day there. And as you can see, all of these are decentralized options because it's such a new product. And most exchanges want you to buy ETH and then buy RETH or they don't even want you to buy RETH. They want you to buy their own token like Coinbase ETH or Kraken staked ETH because they want to make a percentage off of you. Versus RocketPool, the node operators do, and you trust decentralized. But there is enough liquidity out there that people can feel safe with their, RETH in case of a disaster. Like going back to this, here's a great chart. Now, this is since they've upgraded to proof of stake. Now, how much Ethereum has come in versus gone out. And the number is just basically green, meaning that like total, there's continued more interest in locking up their Ethereum. And currently it looks like we're having around 24,000 Ethereum has been deposited. And that's still a small fraction of the total amount of Ethereum that there is in the total market. Because remember, there is 120 million, and we're currently saying that only 24 is where we're at. So we actually should be painting this one green because this is where we are, and that's only around it's not the total supply. This is the rate of return that you would get based on these dynamics. But there's basically a lot of room for Ethereum to stake more, where it could get towards other blockchains. And so the idea is that there's enough liquidity, there's enough demand for more staking that you shouldn't have to worry as an RETH token holder that if you, pardon me, I jumped to too many sites, and now we're on the RocketPool documentation site, and this is a great site to show you how to do things. And I know I wanted to challenge you on how to buy RETH. So let's go right here and finish our chat on RETH. Well, we're not a developer. So let's see where it takes us. Oh, we're in the developer tabs of RETH. So this is not for.
So I've actually read this, so I can kind of go over it and you can tell me if I missed anything. So like we talked about earlier, RETH can just be swapped from Ethereum.
Yep.
And then you are considered a staker because you're staking your
Yep.
Ethereum. And so you can earn the interest or the APY from that. To buy RETH, there's a couple ways to do it. You can do a layer. You can actually go directly through RocketPool. You can buy it that way, but the gas is a little pricey. You can do a layer 1 option, which would be Uniswap or Balancer. Balancer seems a little bit more difficult. They're challenging to use. It's not as user-friendly. Uniswap is very user-friendly, easy to use, but again, there's a little bit more gas fees. I think the fix to that, especially when Gwei is high, is to use a layer 2, which I believe they use Arbitrum and Optimism.
Exactly.
And so you can do a swap with that, and then you can use, there's different swap apps, but you can use Hop, I believe, which seems to be user-friendly to do your swap. And then you are able to keep it in your wallet with self-custody with the RETH, and to cash out or exchange into ETH, it's basically the same process, but backwards.
Exactly right. So like we said, this is not that simple, but coming back to it, the cheapest way to do this is to stake on a layer 2. And most people, if they already have Ethereum, it's on L1, which is just Ethereum, and it's expensive to use, so they need to get it over to L2. Hop is a way to do that, and here's how you would basically pick from and to. And the 2 we were just talking about was either Optimism or Arbitrum. And Coinbase or an exchange may be able to help you do this automatically, where you can send it from your exchange wallet to your personal self-custody wallet on that network already. But most people have to transfer it themselves, like I have done. And you can see that the RETH token is already integrated into Hop. So they're making it easier so that you can just, hold the up-only token. But it is a process to figure out how the cheapest way to buy it. But you hit it on the head of how to stake it. And it's not an easy quest. So I hope that the next steps for you is that we're able to help you, document your staking experience of how you're taking a little bit of ETH and turning it into RETH, because, up only and winning is the goal. So is that a good challenge we can set for the next chat?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and work on transferring some ETH over to RETH, and then I'll do a video on it.
Phenomenal. I'm here to help. You've learned so quickly. The running the node is way more complicated than just the staking. And I know we're working on getting you ramped up to running a node locally. I run most of mine remotely and running more locally. But I have found that for me, I want to run them locally in other jurisdictions. So I'm working on my team helping me do that. But everyone has to find the right way that they want to stake. And once again, we break it down. It's like, where should you stake your funds? And we hope that more and more want to choose liquid staking, so you earn quickly. You don't need the 32 Ethereum. And I'm excited to put your video here next, Sunshine, on why to choose RETH in your experience, so that we can simplify it for others. But this has been a fantastic chat. Anything else you want to share?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. This was part 3, and we'll look forward to updating you on our journey, where I myself and Sunshine are working to do a mentoring program to learn the nuts and bolts of how non-traditionals can learn to stake ETH and win. So thanks so much. Bye.
See you next week.
Ciao.